Hey everybody, welcome
Hello.
to Pop Chat with me, BP1 and BP2. Hopefully you've got your little info heads on today. Hopefully we have as well. So we've got a video for you
Got my
today.
little one on.
Why is there a CIA base in the centre of Australia, my friend? Very odd.
Okay, well, obviously us two idiots have no idea, but because the lovely Amanda A popped over to BUYMEACOFFEE.com and gave us another info video that we would probably have never thought of checking out.
No.
Amanda A. So we're going to find out, mate, why the CIA have a base in the centre of Australia. Probably because of all of that Fosters.
All the Fosters. I thought you were going to say all of that land that they've got.
All the Fosters.
Isn't it something, I can't remember the percentage, but something like 70% of Australia is inhabited. Yeah.
Uninhabited.
Uninhabited, yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
And he said inhabited. Yeah.
All right. Let's find out why.
Let's find out why.
Australia is a fascinating continent. As the driest continent in the world apart from Antarctica, it's no surprise that Australia is home to the second largest desert of the inhabited Earth's continents, remaining only behind the Sahara of Northern Africa in scale and scope. The Great Australian Desert spans more than a third of the continent and is larger in size than the entirety of Kazakhstan. And it's partially because of this desert that Australia itself, despite being the sixth largest country in the world in terms of land, is only the 53rd largest in terms of people, with a modest population of less than 26 million citizens. We're around the same size as North Korea, but within this vast, inhospitable, and empty desert, at the precise geographic center of the Australian continent, exists a surprising and relatively unknown secret of enormous geopolitical importance. One of the largest overseas military bases of the United States of America, operated by the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Administration, and the National Reconnaissance Office with a full 800 combined personnel. The base is located nearby to the small Australian town of Alice Springs. Population just 26,000 or so people. But besides for that, there is no larger town that exists anywhere nearby to this base, within a zone of about 700,000 square kilometers, roughly equivalent in area to the US state of Texas. So to say that this American intelligence base with hundreds of American intelligence officers operating within the dead center of Australia is a remote location would be an incredible understatement.
Sorry, let's just get that into context, right?
Yeah. Get your head around it.
That size land, like he just said, bigger than Texas.
Yes.
And we know the landmass of Texas is bigger than the landmass of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And the population of Australia as a whole, 25 million.
Yep.
Britain,
will take a few.
60 million.
Yes. And then, what did he say in Alice Springs? Alice Springs, there was
26,000.
A sprinkling.
So, yeah, I always find this difficult, especially with Australia, because I forget how big it is.
Yeah.
But how much there's just land,
just
barren.
The
world has as it was designed to be, without us humans breaking it
up. Yeah, true. You know, like I say, much of it untouched or unspoilt.
Anyway, just to put it out there.
That's it, just to get your little time.
From the small Australian town of Alice Springs, if you take a short drive just 10 minutes or so to the southwest, you'll quickly run into various threatening signs like this one warning you to turn your car around and proceed no further, or else face some vague consequences. Just beyond these signs is, of course, the top-secret joint intelligence base of Pine Gap, run by both the American and Australian governments. And unless you've watched the Netflix series about this base going under the same name, you've probably never even heard of this place, or knew that such an important American operation existed in the middle of the Australian outback. And going under the more official codename of Project Rainfall. It has a very long and mysterious history here, going back decades into the past. You see, as the global Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union intensified during the 1960s, both nations began sending up satellites into space. With the launching of the earliest intelligence-gathering satellites, there was a recognition that real-time command and control over these platforms were necessary, and data collection to monitor geopolitical adversaries from afar was required. An American base to operate these American intelligence and spy satellites operating over the planet's eastern hemisphere could have theoretically been constructed anywhere, but the precise geographic center of the Australian continent was chosen for a number of strategically important factors. First, the sheer isolation of such a base deep within the continental interior of Australia, more than 900 kilometers away from the nearest coastline, ensured that any potential spy ships from foreign nations passing around would be incapable of intercepting any of the signals coming down to the base from the satellites. Second, the base would be located deep within Australia, a country who is very friendly and allied towards the United States, and far away from any major Australian population centers around the coasts. And third, and perhaps most importantly, the location where the station would be built required the base of the floor and surrounding hills to not exceed 6 degrees. At the precise coordinates of Pine Gap's location in the center of Australia, at latitude 23.8 degrees south and longitude 133.74 degrees east, the ability would be gained to allow for high connectivity with satellites stationed as far as 60 degrees east and as far east as 153 degrees west, effectively covering the entirety of China, North Korea, the Indian subcontinent, and a significant portion of the then Soviet Union. In short, it was a very logically chosen location to construct a satellite intelligence base at. And as a result, by late 1966, the American and Australian government signed a treaty calling for the creation of a US satellite surveillance base in Australia, which eventually became the modern Pine Gap, where operations began in 1970 with the relocation of hundreds of American families to the center of the outback. But there was another, larger intelligence alliance at work here that led to the creation of the base as well. Known as the Five Eyes, this is an intelligence alliance of the 5 major English-speaking democracies around the world of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Created during the fires of the Second World War and expanded during the Cold War, this alliance structure enables all member states' intelligence agencies to easily cooperate with each other and share all of their worldwide data. As the Cold War continued to rage and new threats to the United States emerged, like the People's Republic of China, Vietnam, and later on, Iraq and Afghanistan, Pine Gap continued to play a pivotal role in providing intelligence while dramatically growing in size to the point where, today, it boasts nearly 40 separate antennas across the site and has operated at least 9 geosynchronous satellites owned by various US spy agencies over the past 45 years. Now, what makes these kinds of satellites uniquely well suited to the mission of intelligence gathering is that within a geosynchronous orbit, they travel in the same direction as the Earth's rotation, and therefore retain the exact same orbital period as that of the Earth's rotation, which effectively just means that they view the exact same portion of the Earth's surface at all times, as if they're sort of fixed in position on the map. This is in stark contrast to satellites that operate in lower Earth orbits, which circle around the planet often multiple times a day, and move at a relative pace much faster. One of the unique advantages of a geosynchronous orbit for a spy satellite is that within this range, it can see an enormous amount of the Earth's surface all at once. In fact, if you were to go and do all the math and run the calculations for this, it turns out to be just a tad bit less than half of the Earth's entire surface. This, of course, makes it incredibly easy for the spy satellite above to gather a vast amount of information from a
vast.
There's a lot of vastness in this, isn't there? But,
he's loving it, isn't he?
It is. Everything is vast, isn't it? You know what he's talking about. It's outside of our sort of tiny mind capability. again, didn't just throw a dart at the map and go, "Oh, we'll go there." I mean, there's a lot of reasons for picking that strategic point.
Yeah, very, very clever.
I wonder where Russia and China and all those other states have their geolocation satellite stations, because they must have one as well.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the geostationary satellite is so far away.
Yes.
Because I was looking, I can't remember. Who's that guy in America he's brilliant. He's like Brian Cox's equivalent.
Tyson.
Is that him?
Tyson DeGratis or something? Yeah. Tyson DeGratis.
He was sort of saying, if the Earth was like this size, and the moon was in 2 rooms away, where do you think the satellites would be? A lot of people saying, halfway or so, and he was going less than quarter of an inch above the
really?
Earth. So just to show you the sort of distance that we think, how far our satellites are to the moon.
Yeah,
it's literally nothing. So
right.
Which was interesting. Some of them graphics, I'm thinking, it ain't that far out.
Yeah.
Not when you look at it like that. But when you look at satellites, you're only as good as how far you can see in.
Mm-hmm.
So satellites give you the data to ping around but actual spying and looking in, I think it's got to be more along the lines of transmission and communication that you can see happening, rather than, look, he's got a flamethrower out and he's just about to take out the whatever. But yeah, really, really interesting so far.
Yeah. And like you say, the fact that these satellites are spinning at the same speed and same rotation as the Earth, they've always got eyes on, Not like, we've got to wait another, couple of hours for it to come back round to see what's going on. They've eyes on all the time.
That's it, yes.
Big brother.
Yeah, and the tides, mate.
Yes.
With, it's going a bit off piste here, but the tides from the moon. Didn't realise, obviously knew that tides were related to the moon, but didn't realise just why.
The pull and the push of the moon, yeah.
It is, but it ultimately comes down to wherever the Earth is facing the moon, there's a bulge of water. The water gets sucked towards the moon, which means as the Earth rotates, that's where you get the tides come in and out.
Yep.
Basically because of the suction of the moon at that point as the Earth is going around, which I wasn't 100% aware of, but it was interesting how they showed the graphic with the water bulging out of Earth almost.
Yeah.
Just to show you how that
gravitational
works.
pull.
Yeah, very clever. Anyway,
okay,
we digress.
Very good. Yeah, no, good. Hey,
get the thumbs up. Appreciate that on the channel.
If you learned something, I did. I thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Very large area beneath it. And so today, there are 3 of these types of geosynchronous spy satellites known to be operated from Pine Gap, all at the same line of latitude. Orion 5 above the western Indian Ocean, Orion 7 at the western tip of the Indonesian island of Sumatra, and Orion 3 just west of the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Each of these 3 geosynchronous satellites sit at an altitude of about 36,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface, at these precise coordinates. And they each collect an incredibly wide range of electronic signals from the Earth's surface beneath them, like radio communications, radar emissions, microwave transmissions, missile telemetry, satellite and cell phone transmissions, and even more. These 3 satellites effectively grant American intelligence agencies, and therefore the intelligence of all the Five Eyes member states, an incredible degree of satellite coverage across every single area of modern U.S. critical strategic concern. From Western Africa, across the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, China, and North Korea. More than half of the Earth's surface outside of the polar regions. Once data from these regions is received by the satellites, their information is relayed via a signal back to the Pine Gap base in the center of Australia, and then disseminated from there towards the various intelligence agencies of the Five Eyes member states, like the American CIA and British MI6. And while controversial at times, the American intelligence capabilities that are granted by satellite sites around the world like Pine Gap are unmatched by any other intelligence agency in the world. And while most of what these satellites do is top secret and highly classified, we all know that launching those satellites, maintaining them up there, and gathering all that data from the surface below is an incredibly difficult feat to accomplish. And if you're anything like me, then you're probably curious how satellites like these actually work, and more to the point, how anything actually works. Understanding the difficult to understand is the very essence of STEM fields. But for a lot of us, myself included, STEM subjects like engineering and math and make the seemingly impossible possible have never come as easy to understand. But luckily, we can all get our own little dose of scientific learning every day now from Brilliant. Whether you're looking to learn something completely new or you're just...
So this is paid promotion, which is fine. And I think that goes all the way to the end. All right, I mean...
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So,
no idea
Amanda.
it was there, so there you go.
No
top
idea.
secret place.
So interesting.
But you can see why. Very strategic place to put a spy satellite station. Understand why now, because it's seeing everything up in those continents that he mentioned. Very, very interesting. You know, I mean, like I said, and then once it comes down, then you've got to sift through it and decide what's worthy and what isn't, and you know, so there must be a lot of data sifting going on once they're getting all that stuff coming in.
I dread to think how much data going through there.
Indeed, mate. You know, it's picking up everything, wasn't it? Every kind of communication going on. So thank you very much again, Amanda, for another very highly intelligent video that we would not have found ourselves.
No, it does make my brain think though. You know, you just think of how much communication there is out there in all those methods. You know, the processing power of the satellite. I know it's just relaying, but it still needs some serious gear on that. So, and that's not exactly what you hear about being chucked up into space, is it?
No, those ones get launched quietly.
Shh. What's that going up? Shh.
Yeah. Shh. No one saw that, did they? All right. So there you go. If you've got any other sort of videos, info videos that you think we'd be interested in, please do let us know. We tend to go all over the place. We haven't got a clue. But thanks to people like you out there, you put us in the right direction.
Yeah, brilliant. Love that one. Thanks, Amanda. We'll be back tomorrow for another reaction between the two of us. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
Ahoy! Goodbye from him.
Ciao, Bella.
Laters.